All buses in Beijing deserve an old man who knits. A little background. I work for a large IT firm that has branches in several different Asian nations, and as a result, I was based in Beijing for a while. I had left my workplace after midnight. It was windy outside, and there had been indications of impending storms in the morning. Midnight. Storm, alone a perfect situation for a ghost or a human to kill you. What were you thinking? I know. But no night shifts in this economy. You guys must be rich. Anyway, I used to take the bus every day, and it usually took me about an hour or so to reach home. However, that day I was about to book an Uber cause the last bus leaves at 11. But lo and behold, I decided to check the bus stop, and bus 9909 was standing there, seemingly as if just waiting for me. I boarded it and searched for the most comfortable seat on any bus, an empty one. I found one in the second to last row, sat down, and turned on some music. On my way back, I typically take a little nap. But that particular day, I got a foreboding feeling that I shouldn't. I began to look around and saw nothing unusual, just regular folks, including young couples, friends returning from their most recent expeditions, corporate slaves like myself, and an elderly man who was knitting. This gave me peace, the serenity in the straightforward act of creating a small piece of garment, possibly for a child, is what drew me to it. It gave me hope that maybe working far away from my home would all be worth it in the end. I'd probably be able to take an early retirement and knit. It had only been 15 minutes, and I was lost in my thoughts when suddenly the bus came to a halt, and after a few seconds, we could all hear the bus driver arguing with two men dressed in some historical Chinese outfit. In the brief amount of time I had stayed in China, I had picked up some Mandarin, and this what I understood. Driver, it's not only late. This isn't a bus stop. I'm not allowed to take you on. Man 1, please sir, it's really late now. We have no other means of transport. Help us. His way of speaking seemed a little different, something I was unable to point out. Driver, not happening, and stop blocking my way. I want to open the door. Man 2, if you help us, we'd be grateful and would pay you twice as much. Again in that coarse yet authoritative tone. Driver, fine, get in. But you must know I'm only doing this cause this is the last bus for today. The two men entered the bus and began to make their way inside. Not only their attire, but also their face was peculiar. They both appeared worn out from exertion and looked as pale as the snow in the Himalayas. That's when I saw it. There was a third man between them who looked dead. I have still not been able to understand this. He looked paler than the other two, and the two men were giving him support to be able to walk. On top of that, they were walking so effortlessly it seemed as if they were floating. Have you ever had that feeling where you get a chill in your body? But this is a good kind of a chill. It tells your body that there is an appropriate amount of warm and cold, and it's time for you to sleep now. So that's what I did. As soon as the bus started moving, I went off to sleep. The last I saw of those men was that they sat in front of the old man. I honestly couldn't care for those three drunkards who probably didn't have much to work for. I did wake up a few times in between just to see that the bus was slowly emptying, and after a while, it was finally me, the knitting guy, and those clowns left on the bus. I checked my watch. I should have been home by now if not for them. However, whatever happened from here on happened quick. The elderly man dropped his ball of wool, which slid across the bus floor and landed right next to those weird people. He had fragile hands and long gone nerves, but that person, he didn't even turn around to face the old man, let alone get up to help him. The old man had already leaned over and gotten it by the time I was about to go get it for him. But after a while I noticed that he had stopped knitting. His hands seemed to be frozen in place, which was strange. He appeared horrified. and he turned to face me. When I realized I was the only woman on the bus, and it was far past midnight, I started to feel uneasy. He got up and started walking towards me. I put my hand inside my purse, ready to use the pepper spray my mother had forced me to buy, when he was nearly a feet away from me, and I must admit that he astonished me. He started yelling at me incessantly. When will you give me my money? Me, money. What money? Payment for the sweater I made for your child, blue as the summer sky. I used pure cotton for it. Me, child? At this stage of my life, sir, I don't have the time to take care of a wobbly organism. Exactly which child are you referring to? Just because I'm from the village, you think you can fool me? His voice was a little too loud, and one of those three men tilted his head, as if he was annoyed. Me, hear me out, okay? I have no children and I don't even know you. Is this some scheme planted by my parents to have children? 'Cause this is not working. Liar. There is a police station very close from here. Let's talk there. By now, I was really tired, and his sharp voice was bothering me. Me, fine, let's go. But if they find nothing, you will pay for my ticket. Fine. And we stopped the bus driver, paid him, got out and started moving towards the police station. The old man was in a hurry. This would definitely make sense if you think someone has robbed you. But he was moving quick in terror. The dude was sweating and was breathing from his mouth, as if he had used all bits of his last energy by now. The bus was moving away slowly, and when it was ahead of us, I saw those three men looking at us from the back seat window. Even I started moving fast now. When we got to the police station, the old man came up to me. I was waiting for him to try and castigate me, but he spoke in the most gentle voice I've ever heard. The voice of a man who knits. Child, I'm sorry, but it was necessary for me to do this. That thing on the bus was unholy. Me, when I was a child, my grandmother always told me about ghosts of men from the Qing dynasty who hurt people, 'cause they were betrayed in the war. They wait for you to be alone with them and kill you thereafter. Me, and what does this have to do with me? How will I go back now? Listen, while knitting, my ball of wool fell near one of those men, and when I bent myself to pick it up, I saw the most horrendous sight I've ever seen in the past 80 years of my life. They had no legs, instead they had tentacles. They probably used those tentacles to hold their prey when they were sucking the blood out of it. I felt a sharp chill go through my spine, not the good kind. Those men probably looked pale 'cause they hadn't had blood from a long time, and today they had come out of the forest to eat. For them, the blood of a young maiden is the most precious, can keep them going for the next 50 years. I'm an old man, my blood wouldn't have helped them. But yours, a maiden? I don't know about that, but certainly too young to die. My stop was just 50 meters ahead, and I couldn't take the risk of leaving them with you. Thus, I did this, to get you out of it. At the time, I found it difficult to accept all of this, but I was aware that the elderly man undoubtedly meant well. I thanked him. He gave me a sweater too, telling me how he couldn't pay for my ride as he was poor. I took his phone number, after which he went on his way. The police officers were kind enough to arrange a taxi for me. When I reached home, I double-checked all the doors and went off to sleep like a rock. The next day, I missed office, had a nice little breakfast, and switched on my TV in what felt like years. The news shown that day is the reason why I moved back home after a few days. Must know, 9,909 had apparently fallen into a ditch. However, the weird thing was that, first, there was no driver in the bus, and along with it there were 3 very decomposed bodies, possibly rotting for what felt like years at first sight. I quickly dialed the elderly man and sobbed for some time. I expressed my gratitude to him for saving my life and spoke with him for an hour to learn about his living situation. The very next day, I wired him some money and sent a few gifts for his granddaughters. Along with it, I asked for a transfer and moved back home. I stayed in touch with the elderly man for the remainder of his little life and continue to speak with his family and make an effort to assist them occasionally, advising his now older grandchildren to stay vigilant and carry pepper spray at all times. You never know what you might run into next, be it a ghost or a human.